We are now moving on to our second speaker. He's a light artist from France. He's BIBI. You may have seen his artwork, like the giant red elephant in Montreal, Lausanne, Lyon, even Shanghai. His BIBI glue was also in Moscow. He has worked in Jerusalem, and he's going to take us through his creative process and how he works with plastic. So off you go, BIBI, with your presentation.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Hi, I'm very pleased to meet you. And I'm BIBI, I'm a French artist, and I will present you my project manager, who is Karen. And I have a question. Why using light? Why using plastic? Why using plastic and light? And I believe it's a good question.
This cat is made from recycled objects and plastic refuse, and it seems ready to jump outside the garbage can. It has been made in 1993, and it is a part of the ark. This is not Noah's Ark. This is BIBI's ark with very strange and weird animals.
So one object, one light, one creature. Here it's a transgenic pig. I designed this pig 20 years ago, and there was no LED. So I transformed the plastic can into a sculpture with thermoforming, and I paint the inside of the pig. And later, 20 years later, I've presented an installation displayed on water at Amsterdam. It was called Green Pigs, and of course it was with LED. Here, yellow fish. So it's very simple because it's an object. The object is a plastic ball and a traffic cone. The light is a simple LED bulb, and the creature is a fish. And that's one of my first sculpture in 1992. It was a clone sheep, which was called Dolly, an electric sheep, and it was made with several pieces of plastic containers. And it seems to be a plastic lantern, a Chinese lantern.
So for BIBI, light gives life to plastic objects. Here there is the clone sheep, Dolly, and the transgenic pig, and they really become alive when they are lighted. This is the same for this crocodile. His first name is Laurent. In fact, he seems almost dead, like a trophy. When it is switched off, and when the light comes inside, so it really takes the stage. The virus, BIBI has designed this virus in 2000, and this virus was, of course, the leader, the master of BIBI's ark here in a rabbit hutch. The virus is free in his fridge, but all other animals like pitbull, like transgenic pigs are in cages, and cages that are switched off. It's only to symbolize the disappeared animals. This ark is not as a permanent installation in Milano, so if you go to Italia, please just have a look.
So plastic for me is the fifth element. So I presented this Dragon King in Dubai 8 years ago, and it was produced by Lumière, of course, and it was about the fifth element, because plastic is not air, plastic is not water. Plastic is an element, plastic is plastic. And I believe that we can change the world if you imagine that every year we consume 360 million tons of plastic. So that's my first installation. It was a light installation in 1991. It was made with garbage, and I've collected this garbage in garbage tins during 1 month.
In fact, with this installation, BIBI gives to see what is usually hidden. This is all garbage. Here, on the facade squares in Paris, all the plastic that are put away outside or sea is now going swimming all over the city, so we can see what we throw away. This facade was on Rivoli Street. It is an homage to Van Gogh, because you can see here. And it was a way also to make a tribute to all artists who try to ask questions about our way of life and our choice as human beings.
So, questioning public spaces. Here an installation in Lyon around the Fontaine of the Jacobins, and I think that artists have to ask questions. They have to change the atmosphere of the town, and you can see the same installation in Singapore years later, and it was very different because the mood of Singapore is different. The installation is completely different also.
BIBI is using light like some other artists use paint tubes. Here in Rouen, this is a permanent installation, and you can see it's like a new kind of canvas. For Fish Forest, the lighting moves, in fact, just is a rendering of the mood of the city seen by the artist. And for this crocodile in Singapore, it has been composed just as a classical painting with backgrounds and perspective.
So I use string lights. I use string lights because it's very, very simple. So here you can observe a very small devil I've designed for Arbre Lumière in Geneva, and it was an installation in a tree, and with string lights you can transform the small lights into a very magical installation. And the same installation in Lyon, it was, I believe, 4 years ago. Here, a school of mosquitoes. I liked this installation because it's only traffic cones, light bulb, and string lights.
We can say that plastic is the optimal diffuser. The BIBI glue is created with 250 recycled plastic containers, and it uses only 150 watts, and with this amount of light you can give life to a beach like here in Portugal. The BIBI glue has been exhibited in front of the Opera House in Sydney, and here in Jerusalem, each piece of plastic seems to echo the old stones of the place. The BIBI glue has been created in England in a festival about bonds between art and architecture, and every time it has become a very famous meeting point for the youth and the less youth, and everybody comes around, and this is also a perfect background for selfies.
So I design a plastic object as sculpture, and I designed this sculpture as a giant Lego set. Here, an elephant, a red elephant presented in Montreal. Then it was presented in Lyon, of course, because it was produced by Lyon Lumière too, in Lausanne, I believe, and in China, in Shanghai, and in Eurascula. So you can see that each pixel of light is a plastic container. And I will ask to the question why using light, I believe that light is life. Why using plastic, I believe that plastic is the fifth element. And for Chinese people, of course, is the sixth element.
Yes, we have traveled all around the world, and unfortunately, this is always the same that we see. There is plastic garbage everywhere. So plastic is also beautiful when it is lighted, but I think it's a symbol of our period. This is an ambivalent material, and our period is ambivalent, swinging between new way of thinking and old bad habits. Thank you.
For your presentation and for all the creativity and all the messages. We do have some questions in the chat box. So the first one was from Heike. She was wondering to which extent is this wonderful art connected to the circular economy and its network.
In fact, it is really the genesis of these artworks. It is because we work with a recycling company in France. Almost all the materials comes from a recycling company. We have a lot of discussion with them because they have a lot of problems to do their job properly. So it is also a way to give to see this economy of recycling that can be a very strong economical power, but it is not considered yet as it.
Okay, thank you. There was also a question about as your art been used to raise awareness about recycling our waste by cities, municipalities that have commissioned your artwork.
Yes, of course, but sometimes, and this will join a discussion of yesterday. A lot of festivals have want to do good for environment, but very often we have asked to produce all the project in the site. So we don't come with any material, we come there, we find recycling company, we hire people on the site, and very, very often festival says, oh, this is beautiful, but they prefer a turnkey project. And they prefer to just get in a 20-feet container and we do the work and this is finished. So maybe sometimes you have to be really consistent with your ideas.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, we have you talked about traveling from one place to another, and we have a question about how do you take into account the local context of when traveling of your works from one city to another. And
in fact, the works they are kind of universal, because each country has this kind of problem. We have been in Malaysia, in very remote place, very beautiful beaches, and there were plastic everywhere. Nowadays, as China has reduced its recycling process for European garbage, you can find European garbage everywhere in Southeast Asia because we don't treat most of them here. We just send them in container in Southeast Asia. So this artwork is really to gives to see what is idle. We can't stay blind to what is happening right now. And there is always a lot of speech saying we will end this, and this is not happening.
Maybe we have time for one last question from Craig about the containers that you use for the elephants, the red elephants. How do you clean them and make them safe for the crew that is installing the?
Yeah, so this is a good question. At first, we were taking them because these containers are very nice. We love them. We have thousands of them in our workplace, and the fact is that they are used only once. It is a cleaning product for swimming pool and for big companies, and they are fill out, and then just throw away. But companies ask to recycle them, and so at first we were washing them ourselves, and it was not a good way at all because we used a lot of water doing that. So this was not the good way to do. So now we are working with this company who has the equipment to wash all the plastic containers in a very sustainable way. And we are working with them and trying to minimize our carbon print, but it's not always very simple. We are not saying other people have to do best. We are asking ourselves questions about each project. Yes, and thank you, Mark, to let know that there is a new book by BIBI called The Fifth Element, and it is available on the website.
Yeah, thank you indeed, Marcus. Put in the chat box a link to BIBI's website. Thank you so much, BIBI and Karen, for being here and for answering your questions.